Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto and welcome to the channel if you're new as well. In this video, we will talk liquidity crisis again. Yes, unfortunately, I think you're getting tired with that word already, but there are some updates that I did not specifically want to tell you about in this video, but we have to, right? So you actually have a good idea of what to expect. I thought this morning we would get some economic data, but I realized a little bit after I made videos in which I said we're going to get economic data, that we would not get that. We are going to get some data throughout the month of November, obviously with the US government reopening, but the inflation rate data and the initial jobless claims data we did not get. But we'll talk about all of that and more. So the fundamentals, we'll talk about how equities are doing, we'll talk about Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, altcoins. Yes, there are a couple of altcoins that I did want to spend some time talking about a little bit longer in this video, right? So the main idea of this video is obviously, as most of you know, to make sure that if you watch this video, you know everything that is going on and you are prepared for all scenarios from here. Because I have to say, the title of this video is probably something like breakout coming. That has to do with Bitcoin, right? I mean, Bitcoin is right now consolidating between 100,000 and 106,000 to 105,500. It is going to break out. It's going to break out probably this week, right? So in the next 7 days, you need to be prepared for that. But given that there's different fundamentals, there's bullish fundamentals, there's bearish fundamentals, both a bullish breakout and a bearish breakout are possible. I'll tell you which one I think is most likely. Okay, so we will talk about that, but I think you should be ready for both scenarios. But let's get right into it. So first of all, we should have gotten some economic data. We didn't. We're going to get economic data throughout the month of November. The key thing to watch is the probability of another rate cut in December. December the 10th, we have another FOMC meeting. We're going to get an interest rate decision. We're either going to get a pause, right? So that it basically stays the same, the interest rate, or we're going to get another cut of 25 base points. We want to get another cut. Right now, it's almost 50-50. But all the economic data we get, and that is also something I'll keep you updated on, is very reliant on that determines whether we're going to get a cut or not. So if we get data, keep your eyes on this percentage. Okay, you can see that on Polymarket, or you can see that on FedWatch. Just look up FedWatch interest rate probabilities or something, and you'll see it. I think just typing in FedWatch is already enough. So keep an eye on that, definitely. And then the look, if we talk about the NYO is just opened, right? So the US session has just started. If we look at the charts right now, you can see that the S&P 500 opened a little bit lower and is pushing down. And you can see that the volatility and index, aka unrest, but also gold, are rallying. So if we look at those charts, you'd say, oh, there's unrest. Something bad is going on. And that is also the case. I think yesterday, one of the key reasons that we actually saw the bearish pressure that we saw, right? Because yesterday, ultimately, like I made my video on time. I mean, when I made the video, it was already quite clear, and when we already knew that there were liquidity problems again, and that we would push down lower. We pushed down lower, but then after the US government reopened and the vote passed, we pushed up higher. But unfortunately, what I've just saw, right, because with the NYO, so when the US session starts, we get liquidity data. And what you can see is that yesterday we had about $6 billion in repo operations. This is bad. Repo operations basically happen when there's a liquidity supply problem in a certain, you know, in a certain country, and repo is for the United States. And you can see November the 13th. So today we again had repo operations. And repo operations, look, since the 13th of August, you can see we barely had any repo operations until the middle of October. And then if you look at the last year, like again, repo operations are rare. And now we are getting repo operations almost every day. That's bad. Okay, that signals a liquidity problem. You can see the SOFR spread is also, so this is also, if this is high, that's bad news. You can see it's also incredibly high if you compare it like all the way back to July 2024. So as long as this is going on, like this is bearish. This is just fundamentally, it's not good. And the fact that that is going on right now, like last week, that caused a lot of bearish pressure. I think that's going to cause bearish pressure again. If it's not solved, if we do not see some sort of measures taken by the Federal Reserve or by the Treasury, whoever, it's a problem. All right. And if that problem causes the volatility index to rise and it causes equities to fall, who am I to tell you that Bitcoin is going to hold up? No, I think it's most likely that short term we're going to push down into that major support level we have at 100,000. And then we have to make the decision. We have to talk about, okay, it's a very strong support level at 100K. Are we going to be able to hold that? Yes or no? And at the moment, I would say yes. However, I do think it's I do think it's good to know that it's quite likely that we're going to spike down below that. If these liquidity problems do not solve themselves, if these liquidity problems do not go away, I would say what is most likely is that we are going to push down into 100,000. We'll spike down below, and then we're able to reclaim that. I think ultimately 100,000 is going to serve as a bottom. I still do think so. That might sound a little bit naive, but I do think so. But I think it's likely that we're going to push down into it first, and I think there's a high probability if we see these liquidity problems persist that we're going to spike down below that. And those are my thoughts on Bitcoin. But as you can see, most altcoins right now are incredibly correlated to Bitcoin. And when we're talking specifically about Ethereum, you can see the same. For Ethereum, I would expect the same. I think for Ethereum, Ethereum is looking a little bit better because we still have strong support at 3,150 and at 3,320. So what then happens is that Ethereum is most likely going to push down into support, and then it could spike down lower towards 3,150 and then bounce back up, right? So I do think it's good to realize that I think it's likely that short term we're going to push down lower, but I do expect support. Okay, I do expect support, and I expect us to bounce back up. It's just that if these problems persist, like we're going to drop down into support, and we can also get some spikes down below that. I think XRP is actually holding on relatively well. I actually just got some news on XRP as well, which I will look at right now. The Canary XRP ETF has launched. So not amazing. That's not my favorite XRP ETF that's launching, but that is, we'll see. We'll see what the inflows will be. It's a little bit early to judge on that, but XRP actually still looks pretty good to rally up higher, to be fair. It's one of the stronger altcoins at this point of time. So Ethereum, so XRP, I expect, I actually think we have a good chance to hold 2.4 and 2.41, regardless of the problems we have right now. So that's perhaps a positive sign. When we're talking about altcoins, there's a couple of altcoins that I think are quite interesting. I think Quant is quite interesting. You can see a lot of momentum. This is actually a very positive chart, as you can see right here. So that's QNT. That's the name of the altcoin. Definitely keep your eyes on that, showing a lot of momentum. I would not buy it right now, but I do think that there's still some good long opportunities on there, which is quite rare. And then outside of that, I mean, what more do we have? Uniswap is still holding on fairly well, in my opinion. So keep your eyes on that. And maybe Sky, right? So Sky, previously known as Maker, also still has quite a lot of momentum. But that is what I would stick with right now. I mean, when we're talking about other altcoins, yeah, Quant is quite strong. XRP is quite strong. Outside of that, I would be careful. I would be careful until we see either Bitcoin bottom or we see those liquidity problems go away. So I'll keep you updated on that as well. Make sure to follow me on X as well. Turn on notifications. I post about the fundamentals and what's going on quite a lot on there as well. So keep an eye out. But for now, thank you for watching. Take care and bye.